Good evening and welcome to New York City Atheists live on tape, brought to you by New York City Atheists. I'm your host, Dennis Horvitz, the David Letterman of the Hopelessly Damned. Tonight, our subject is, well, if you were to ask me, and you haven't, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I would call this title of the show Superstition in the Military, but that's not exactly what we're talking about. Tonight's topic is about getting religious coercion out of the armed forces. Our guest this evening is Jason Torpy, who gave up a promising military career and went civilian despite his West Point education, despite his 10 years in the United States Army, and despite his strong patriotism. He now works for a top civilian firm in information technology and is still a biting flea in the military's back. How does one go about being a biting flea in the U.S. military's back? Well, here's a good way. By being president of the Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers, MAAF, or MAF, as we like to call him. And one of his foremost missions in life is to achieve equality for atheists and free thinkers in the U.S. military. He points out that there are probably more atheists in the U.S. military than they are willing to acknowledge, and despite the fact that the trite saying that there are no atheists in foxholes, the problem is that the military pretends that atheists don't exist. And he's going to give us various examples of what actually goes on in military installations, such as broadcasting prayer on United States naval ships, which sounds kind of Talibanish to me. I wonder how they would feel if they were broadcasting Muslim prayers or whatever. These and other patently illegal and unconstitutional tactics will be discussed tonight. And Jason will tell us what the Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers are doing about it. And this is clearly a violation of the letter, and I use the term loosely, the spirit of the U.S. Constitution. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jason Torpy.
Commander that I had, the company commander in the Army, can literally send me to jail. All right, just right to jail, because if I mouth off, disagree with him. This guy's handing out chick tracts. Now, in case nobody knows, chick tracts are little cartoons that are basically vile to anything that's not fundamentalist Christianity. All right, now I'm pretty sure that if there were any Christians in the room, they might agree with me that chick tracts are vile, horrible things. All right, but nonetheless, they are fundamentalist Christianity, and they were. The company commander was handing these things out. A chick tract. Chick tract. So basically the point is he was handing out little cartoons that were totally discriminatory to anything that's not fundamentalist Christianity. And I was lower enlisted at the time. What am I going to say? He can throw me in jail, take my money, do all sorts of things for insubordination. And it's not that I didn't want to say anything. It was just kind of hard because he has so much power over what I do. And it's not uncommon. Now, technically, I will say that chick tracts are not legal in the military. But what am I to say? He did it for quite a long time before I left the unit, and nothing changed. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much. Where's the... There we go. Just trying to watch time here so I don't run us over too much. Now, Jeremy Hall. Has anybody heard of Jeremy Hall? Yeah. Now, thanks to the Military Religious Freedom Foundation for blowing that story up and supporting Jeremy. He's a hero. He has stood up. He's one example of somebody who had a meeting. He had a MAF meeting. He contacted the Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers and said, I'm in Iraq. I'm stressed out. I'd like to meet with some people. Think you can help me out? And I said, yeah. I sent him some information, notified others in the area. He had a meeting. In this meeting, people showed up, and they were talking about atheist things, and then one of those people, a major, again a senior officer, started to dress him down for not being Christian enough. Said he was just insubordinate and a disgrace to the military because he was atheist. Yelling at him, and literally he can't say anything back. Again, you get money taken, you get restricted, you go to jail. You can't say anything. Now, the others in the meeting fled. He had to stand there and take it. All right? And he's a hero for it. And he complained to me, in other organizations, we got him support. And in response for that, he was evacuated from the combat zone. Now Iraqis, with the guns and the mortars, now they're dangerous, but not that dangerous. Fundamentalist Christians, angry that an atheist would dare to defy them. That's far too dangerous. He had to be evacuated. These things go on. He's back in the States now. Didn't get a promotion. And apparently, as a result of this, all right, and the lawsuit that was filed for the original event has had added to it now that denial of promotion, which is apparently continuing support. And he gets problems every day. And he's a hero for putting up with it and basically sacrificing his career, for others. So I commend him as well. Now, we're not about creating lawsuits. We're about creating community. I've said this a few times. We want to support those that are in the military because the military does not do it. The chaplains don't do it. Now, population on the MAF website, you can see a Population Reference Bureau, totally independent third-party study using Army demographics to identify 20% non-theists within the military. Now, I have to say that although the numbers are in disagreement, basically any poll will show you that non-theists outnumber Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, all put together. All of those organizations have chaplains. So when anybody says, hey, the chaplain's just playing to the majority, it's obviously not accurate. It's a difference between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Atheism is considered not acceptable within the military by all actions that are taken. And all these other, and religion, vanilla prayer, things like that, are considered acceptable. This is the problem. And we need support. We need it to be acceptable to be atheists within the military and serve. Now, people just don't understand that within the civilian society, there's organizations like this. This is a great meeting. We're coming together, we're meeting, have a little bit of dinner later on, tabling, all sorts of things that Ken talked about earlier. And if you're not specifically interested in the atheists, they've got ethical societies, humanist societies, skeptics, brights, even secular Jewish societies. With this constellation of support, it still hasn't worked its way into the military. The chaplains have all these resources to put people in touch with organizations that share their core values, and they don't do it. They deny it. And that's something that's in what I think is easy, a part of education, that we can do to seek them, to put them in touch with this information and see who gets in touch with it and who doesn't. Now, again, these organizations, these supporting organizations, sometimes they're not community organizations. Sometimes they are advocacy. We talked a lot about the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. That's not an atheist organization. It's an interfaith organization. Because separation of church and state and this support, this teamwork, and this team community within the military and diversity is an interfaith value. It's a value for everyone. It's really an American value. Now, in addition, we have organizations, again, like the ACLU, bringing, seeing that liberty is being infringed at the Naval Academy by these prayers and bringing this suit on our behalf. Also, we have the Secular Coalition for America. Secular Coalition for America is the premier lobbying organization for non-theists. MAF, personally, I hold a seat on that board. And, I tell them, and they take these issues, these military proselytism issues, to Congress, to members of Congress. They have a lot of access. They're considered very professional and very supportive within D.C. They're doing a lot of support for us. And that's the kind of another organization that we can work through to change the things within the military. We talked a little bit about the Boy Scouts in the introduction earlier. Now, the Boy Scouts, in case you're not aware, as he noted, discriminate against atheists openly. All right, and there's a coin being put forward, to say, hey, Boy Scouts, they're very patriotic and supportive. They're growing our new leaders. But they discriminate against atheists, and there's a House resolution to make a commemorative coin against the Boy Scouts. Commemorate discrimination? I don't understand that at all. Now, in addition, you might not understand, this is a core issue for MAP as well. Eagle Scouts, senior Boy Scouts, when they join the military, they're given an automatic promotion, privilege and pay for having been in the Boy Scouts, a discriminatory organization. So this is why it's an issue for MAF. And it goes on every day. Continues to. House Resolution 888, attempt to make the U.S. a Christian nation. Secular Coalition for America pushes this issue. Again, religion and patriotism. This is a core issue for MAF. I served in Iraq. And now all of a sudden, I'm not patriotic enough. I'm not a real American because I'm not Christian. This is the suggestion that they're going to put forward within Congress. Totally unacceptable. It's hard to defend the nation when the nation goes in that direction. So again, I talked a little bit about personal experiences, what I've had, the media, trying to understand the environment, things that really aren't options within the military. We're just trying to serve. There's a lot of non-theists within the military, a large portion. And they're not getting that support they need. I want to talk a little bit about, what you might do to raise this flag, to raise this issue within, in actions that you take. And again, the chaplains, are the core issue. When you see these issues come up in the media, 2 issues yesterday, others this month, when you see these issues come up in the media, when you write about it, when you talk about it, when you meet with members of Congress, through these other advocacy organizations or directly for yourselves, the issues you have to put up is, it's a religious test for public office, which is military service. That's an issue. All right, that's a talking point to put forward. In addition, it's important to put forward that it's a condition of employment. That's an equal opportunity terminology. The U.S. government and the military is an equal opportunity employer, and Christianity should not be a condition for employment, advancement, or pay within the military. And with all these prayers everywhere, and this senior favoritism, the favoritism of Christianity by senior officers, it certainly seems like a condition of employment. And also the disparity of regulations versus practice. They need only to adhere to the regulations that exist and change the practice that is there. It's not like laws have to be changed. They're already there. They're already in support of us. In support of free service for atheists within the military. But they're not being advanced. And again, these organizations that go through, there's MAP. You can contact us directly. We have a number of civilian support organizations, also interfaith organizations, and not religiously affiliated organizations like the Military Religious Freedom Foundation and the ACLU. These are organizations you can work through other than directly through the media. And then also you have secular organizations like the Secular Coalition for America that lobby within Congress and do advocacy and support. Now, I hope you've gotten a feel today for what it's like to serve within a military that's infiltrated with Christian support and supportive in general of religion as long as it's theistic, but not supportive of non-theists within the military. Hope you understand that, and also some of the organizations that you can work through and some of the talking points that are important to put forward as you write letters to the media and as you talk with members of Congress. I hope you can understand that, because it does need to be changed, because in the end, what we get out of this is a supportive community for non-theists within the military. Identify that chaplain. Who's allowed it to happen? What chaplain's allowed it to happen, and what's pushed it, regardless of the commanders, the other organizations? Who is that chaplain that's allowed it to happen? So again, I want to open it up for questions now. I've talked for quite a while. Lots of other interesting things to talk about, but appreciate your time today.
Really sick and twisted, and I am actually a collector of these tracts. There are people who, there are lots of atheists who collect his tracts because he's so sick he's funny. But it is really mental illness in a little cartoon, and I'm dead serious. This man is twisted. But you can get his Jack Chick tracts on the internet through eBay, and they're if you have a very sick sense of humor, they are quite amusing. But to have them, pardon?
What is it?
It's a cartoon. Actually, they're roughly this big, and they're
If you have any morbid curiosity, it's just a little cartoon booklet that says bad things.
It has supposedly biblical references, and it's usually about a young person who gets lured by Satan into some kind of activity, like smoking pot or listening to disco or whatever it is, and usually there's a friend along with him, and the friend doesn't do it, and he's saved, and the kid that does it is either condemned to hell or whatever. But it's very amusing.
I think the phrase "there are no atheists in foxholes" originally was meant to mean that if you were an atheist in a life-threatening situation, fear and irrationality would cause you to believe in God. But my impression is that the meaning has changed now to imply that if you're an atheist, you're not patriotic, so therefore you're not going to be in the foxhole in the first place. Is that your take on that?
Well, there are atheists in foxholes, certainly. So the core, I mean, obviously, it's not even like open for discussion or anything. So the core issue is that people can't even claim to be ignorant. I mean, the core issue is that people just like to discriminate against atheists. That's what it really means at the core of it. Second, because foxholes are associated with service and patriotism, yes, it's suggested that atheists aren't patriotic. That's the second step from the discrimination. But really, for me, what gets me about the statement is that they're saying that fear is somehow associated with faith. All right, that someone who got scared would be a good Christian. All right, that doesn't make any sense to me. If someone got scared, if somebody saw an atrocity, you know, a small child dying, and said, that makes me angry, I'm atheist now. They're not really atheists, they're just angry at God. All right, so, you know, it works both ways. It's just irrelevant, you know, an irrelevant statement, but yes. I take it personally when people say things like that, because I did serve my country. I consider it, you know, an attack on my personal patriotism.
Yeah, let me just, I'll get to you in a second. You know, I have a question for you, because I just want to know, what do you do when the public at large is basically supportive of the military's unconstitutional, unlawful activities? When Congress, as you say, members of Congress want to make this a Christian nation, well, if they thought that the public at large wouldn't put up with it, they wouldn't dare do it. So, you know, what do we do? You know?
Fortunately, we have a democratic republic. Is that the official word?
So
There's something called a tyranny of the majority. All right, and we have things in place to avoid this tyranny of the majority. So that's what it comes down to. Now, I'd also like to make a distinction between certain members of Congress that have put forward a House resolution and a joint bill that is passed through and approved by the president. All right, it's very different. So the public in the majority has certain opinions that are reviewed by our delegates, our representatives within Congress. All right, now certain of those representatives put forward silly things like the U.S. is a Christian nation. All right, we're offended by that, and we're offended certainly by those individuals that put forward that resolution. All right, and we send forward lobbyists to explain our position to the body at large. All right, but that, from what I understand, hasn't passed. It certainly hasn't become a bill to become a law. So let's not be too supportive of the success of that quite yet.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Maybe I missed it. Were you thrown out of the military for being an atheist? And secondly, what was your relationship with your college and other soldiers, your non-superiors, when you told them you were an atheist? And third, how much was the coin worth?
All right, you can on the MAF website you can get a link to a story that goes through the background of the coin. It's not worth anything to me. Now, as for my relationship with West Point, I have a relationship with West Point. They're not very supportive in general, as a body, as a group. A lot of them are Christian. A lot of them are fundamentalists. A lot of them are just religious and don't really understand atheism because they haven't been around it, and they see so much religion in the military, they become, you know, a bit distant from the non-theist view.
Yeah,
By some people, certainly.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. I had a lot of issues. I've been told that I'm trying to, you know, subvert people for Satan. I mean, these things happen every day. You know, some of them are fine, some of them aren't. Some people I'm friends with, some people I'm not. I wouldn't say it's strained openly because I don't really make a big deal out of it. Also because it's a highly funded, huge organization with a lot of power that doesn't really have to worry about me that much, except occasionally. And I forgot the first question.
You kicked out.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's why I wanted to answer it. No, I wasn't kicked out. I left for a number of reasons, not specifically related to religion. Lots and lots of reasons. I just didn't want to serve anymore.
So a question in the back. Speak up. So
Hi, I'm a new member. I enjoyed your presentation.
I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, I consider myself ethical. I hang out with a lot of ethical people at the Ethical Culture Society. The American Human Association has information for that and instructions and guidelines. I've had a lot of philosophy classes, graduate level philosophy classes. It's, I guess the best way to say is they assume these things and they're not accurate, and a little bit of conversation about, our values of community and family and advancement of humanity. These things are not really hard to dispel, as long as somebody's a little bit open to the idea that an atheist might be able to be ethical. Some people are closed-minded, but to those that aren't, to those that are honestly ignorant about it, it's really not a big deal.
Well, is it true that the religionists are automatically given the moral high ground because they're given officer status, like a West Point graduate? They're distinguished from the non-commissioned officers. So a secularist has no platform from which to speak.
Do you mean chaplains? Or you say religionists?
A secularist, a person,
No, I mean,
all the religions all the chaplains start off with officer status.
so if you're talking about chaplains,
So there's the biggest distinction right away. They are given officer status.
well, let me be a little bit more specific about what chaplains are provided. First of all, they're officers, which means they do have the force of law to put forward their ideas. All right. They also are attached in each case. This is why I put forward. Focus on the chaplain. Chaplains are almost invariably attached to a commander. They always have that job. Commanders rotate to all sorts of different jobs, non-command jobs. They rotate to different units. Chaplains are always attached to a commander, advising closely the commander about issues of religious accommodation or morale within the unit. All right. They have a special privilege over soldiers, and they have a special privilege of power within the chain of command. All right, so in that case, yes, chaplains are given special privilege. Not only that, but a lot of times counseling is mandatory for service members, especially in deployment situations at their most stressful times. Counseling is mandatory. Other times it's suggested. Suggested counseling specifically. The chaplain is a key tool for counseling within the chain of command and promotion of morale. Now, whether it's mandatory or optional, that chaplain is counseling on suicide, family, money, and just basic morale every time. And let me just get in the call. So these chaplains have a special privilege of power at a personal level with the service members, and as well as through their advice through the chain of command. That's why it's very important to put that chaplain to task, the command chaplain, every time one of these issues come up, because that's the person that needs to stop it. Now, we may call them religious, they may be evangelical Christian, but they have a job within the military to protect all service members, and they're not being held to task for that.
And I'll get someone to say.
Jason, what resources would you like to see in the military for atheists and non-believers, people who just don't lump themselves into certain religious categories that are service in the military?
Well, there's two things. First is just free passage, basically. For someone to be able to sit down with the dog tags and say, I'm atheist, and have the clerk say, all right, click, no problem. I get so many stories about, no, you're not Christian. No, you're not. No religious preference. No, you're not. Say something else. All right, all the time. And that's just a basic, something that's endemic. So first of all, they just need free passage. Second, the privileges and the resources that they need are the same thing any person of any religion other than being atheist gets. Access to the chapel facilities for organizations, and access for the chapel annexes, just the meeting halls for their meetings, advertisement on post facilities, support for, there's bulletin boards, there's post networks, TV networks, and all the time, just a constant flow of religious activities that are being advertised through this through these, post facilities and post publications. All right, and that's something that we don't get support for. And basic chaplain support, to go in and have somebody look at a chaplain and say, I'm atheist. And have the chaplain say, oh, well, what kind of atheist? Are you ethical culture? Are you humanist? Are you bright? What would you like me to put you in touch with? Because I have a wide variety of resources to put you in touch with to support your community. I don't expect a chaplain to say, yeah, let's talk about how there's no God. That's fine, I understand that. But they need to put them in touch with resources just as they would a Hindu, a Wiccan, a Buddhist. The Secular Coalition for America puts these issues in front of Congress all the time, every day. They had a whole group of them up on the Capitol. 50, 80 different visits they did on the 9th of June for their days. They have all sorts of events. They have a regular newsletter. They have action alerts on the MAF website, you can go to the Secular Coalition for America. And I know they're doing it because I tell them about it. I'm on the board, again, with the Secular Coalition for America. I handed...
We are an affiliate of the Secular Coalition of America.
Yes.
The Atheist Works Group.
Yeah. And if it makes you feel better, I handed face-to-face to Senator Levin, the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, a lot of these issues. Some of the worst ones I didn't even mention. You're going to have to miss out on the worst ones. But I handed it directly to him, and he made investigations, but the bad news is that these things are complicated. Of all those organizations, 21 different members of Congress have said, I'm non-theistic, I'm just not going to tell anybody about it. One of them came out, Pete Stark. That's the good thing. 20 of them didn't. Of those 60, maybe 60 targeted members that we looked at. Now, they're out there, and just because of the climate, it's hard for them to come out. But the action's going on. All the things that you're talking about are being done, and it's just a long, long process. It's very difficult.
We have a question, Peter.